While we're sort of still waiting for the last few stranglers to join the party, maybe we can start about, we talk about digital, lean and learn in a digital world. But David, is it digital lean? Or Daryl?
Well,
Yeah, no, go for it. Go for it.
no. Well, this is something that we were reflecting, right? And this first discussion that we're going to have, if it's digital lean or lean digital. One thing for sure that drive us to put together these two concepts, digital lean, was that we found that Industry 4.0 was mainly driven by technologies. So it was a technology-driven vision, but we saw that the methods for implementing what later on came to be the famous digital transformation concept, we say, well, how we can interlean the method, the world of lean with the technology-driven vision of Industry 4.0, so we can support better digital transformation. So in this sense, we say, well, how we could define this next generation of lean, supporting with its principles, methods, and tools, the reengineering of processes to take advantage of the new digital technologies. So we aim to call that digital lean manufacturing. And we say, well, digital lean manufacturing aims to build on all these new data acquisition, integration, processing, and visualization that we have to be able to control better the flows of materials, the flows of information itself, and try to predict and prescribe potential errors before it happens, so we can have leaner processes and products with higher quality. And all these, right, it's happening because now we have better tools, but still the focus is the same, at least for Daryl and I. We still need to focus on the process. We still aim to have the product with the highest quality, the lowest cost, and the shortest lead time.
So that brings me to a quick question for you, Daryl. What about lean digital?
Yeah, so it's a fun question, because we have we have a project in Norway here between NTNU, a collaboration between NTNU and Sintef Manufacturing and 4 industrial organizations here in Norway called Lean Digital. So of course, I think in some respect the sequence of the wording is important. Okay, so digital lean manufacturing certainly suggests the digitalization of lean practices, for example. And I think that's in some respect the way we've been thinking about at least some of the tools and techniques used in lean, and using digitalization to enhance and enable those. On the other hand, lean digital, if we really think what that means, okay, if we have a digital transformation, how do we make that digital transformation lean? So I think it's in that respect, it's kind of 2 contrasting approaches. So very often, embarking on a digital transformation has no prerequisite for that. You have lean in place already, that you're starting it from a lean thinking point of view. So I think if we're going to make a digital transformation successful, certainly maybe we're a little biased, but the only real way to do that is through lean and learn. Mm-hmm. So by attacking your digital transformation in a lean way, and first of all, starting from a real problem. I think that's the essence, and I think that's what we're gonna pursue today. Is okay, I want to do a digital transformation. I want to adopt digitalization in my organization. What's the problem? What's the real problem we're going to address? And I think we can play with that question throughout this webinar.
Absolutely. I think it's pretty cool. We have almost 50 people joining us today. As we move on, I'm just going to stop the share so people can see us a bit better. I think one way of doing this is to have is to put on the speaker view, and if you do that, you should see Daryl, David, and me on the each on a screen. So that will make for a nice viewing. we'll open up. We'll open up for questions in a not too long time. But first of all, this is just to sort of. I mean, we're talking lean, and when I talk to, especially when I talk to consultants, they say, you know, we can't talk about lean anymore. It doesn't sell. So the fad, you know, maybe the fad is gone. But as the setting of the webinars suggest, you know, we still think it matters, and it's still very relevant. I think maybe one of the things we have is we have a few myths, maybe, you know, kicking about. One of them is that, you know, lean is not very is very analog. It's not very adapted for technology. You know, that's one of them, which is actually quite fascinating. Maybe it comes from this whole idea of Toyota adopting new technology slowly, which is one of the principles from the Toyota Way book, which I think has been misunderstood. It's how they adopt. It's not that they're slow. You know, we went to Japan. Me and Daryl went to Japan a couple of years back, and in the museum we saw an AGV, a little automated guided vehicles. You know, and I should have maybe put out a poll, but I'll give you the answer. It was from 1986. So there's that, and you know, they were very early using digital design, CAD. I think we spoke to Takao Sakai, and he showed us that, you know, they were doing this already in the late 80s, and obviously the e-Kanban, they've been doing e-Kanban for 30 years. So it's not like lean is in itself is technophobic. But the question is, I guess, is why is lean so important in a digital world, David?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to build on your story, right? And I think that it has to do with the correct and incorrect order of adopting technology, right? Yeah. I mean, if you start technology, right? So I buy immediately the new technology, and I try to, you know, enforce it to my workers, and then, you know, immediately impact the process, right? I can do that really quickly. But of course, what is going to happen is I'm going to perhaps face some resistance for technology adoption from the culture, from the employees of my company, and I may be, you know, driving into the incorrect direction, right? My process. So I think, you know, it sometimes it's perceived as slow, but you need to re-engineer, right, your process. You look into the new technologies, what you can do, you know, with those new technologies, what are their capabilities. Then you reflect how I can transform my process to be, you know, empowered, yeah, together with my workforce, empower it with these new technologies, so I can reduce costs and I can add value for the customer. And how can I drive a technology adoption where this first step, which is re-engineering the process to take advantage of the technology, is done in collaboration with my employees, which are the best knowing the process. They know how to best re-engineer the process to add value to the customer, to reduce costs, right? And since they feel that are part of this digital transformation initiative of the company, then the resistance is lower. But the final result, right, which is now this technology-enabled business process, it's much more powerful, right? No resistance from the workers. Workers happy with these new digital tools, improving their work, improving their processes. So it seems a little bit slower, it seems a little bit longer, the process, till you see actually the technology implemented. But I think, you know, coming back to this idea of digital lean, we think this is the way, right? We still need to respect that the right order is process, culture, technology, rather than technology, culture, process.
And I think there's and you're talking about, you know, it's like, I guess to sum it up, technology will not fix a bad business process.
Yeah, I think, you know, this is why we always need to start, you know, having a lean process, right? I mean, technology cannot magically fix a bad business process. And the wrong technology, I mean, if you choose the wrong technology, it may become an inhibitor rather than enabler for the execution of a good business process. It could create resistance in your people. And the sad thing, right, is like you're just going to become, if you bring automation, robotics, artificial intelligence to make your process more efficient, right? You're just going to be more efficient in being inefficient.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I guess that brings us on to, I mean, Daryl, you've been talking about digital waste for a long time, actually.
Yeah, I mean, we started thinking about this term digital waste and getting digitally wasted 3 or 4 years ago. And David and I started first writing about digital lean manufacturing, but I mean, even before then, so 10 years ago, I was doing my PhD in Trondheim, and the topic there was lean and enterprise resource planning system. So lean and IT, and it's the same argument, right? So, and this argument goes back to the 1970s with just-in-time against MRP, material requirements planning.
Yeah.
And of course, there's this seminal paper from 1977, which describes the Toyota production system, a just-in-time system. And some of the reasons why they saw just-in-time as a much better approach than MRP was because imagine what computers were like in the 1970s.
Yeah.
I mean, they were slow, they were expensive. Pieces of paper, Kanban cards for controlling production execution were much more effective and immediate means. But I think IT's developed a lot since then. But that really gave us this idea of digital waste. So, okay, if technology was so bad, it can cause more harm than good. But I think at the same time, when we just started to talk about digital waste, there are two types of digital waste. So we can have active digital waste and passive digital waste. So we can either kind of, death by digitalization. You can digitize everything, and that would be pretty wasteful, actually.
Well,
on the other hand,
just a side note on that. I think I've actually, there are stories of companies who have literally died when implementing ERP systems. So
it's expensive, and it can be a very expensive mistake. So yeah, that's very dangerous. But of course, there also is passive digital waste. So you can miss opportunities.
Yeah.
And I think one of the focuses of the PhD was actually to see if ERP, enterprise resource planning, or IT can be an enabler of lean production. But I think nowadays it's not just a question of enabling. I think we hope that when we adopt digital tools and digital solutions, that we can enhance the way we do business. On the other scale is if we implement a digital solution, does it actually inhibit lean operation? So I think if we flip the terminology a little and think about enabling, enhancing, or inhibiting, but not talk about lean necessarily, but learning. How can these new digital tools enhance or at least enable organizational learning? I think that's an important avenue to investigate.
Absolutely. I think there's a great example, actually, talking about the Toyota Way. The second edition that is just out, there's a great example of how Denso has utilized AI to enhance operator learning with great effect. So it's absolutely true. I think this is key. Is the technology inhibiting our people, or is it enhancing and enabling our people? And I guess this kind of brings us on to the next subject. It's like, is history repeating a bit here? Because I think we're touching upon this sort of technology versus people technology discussion. Which has been, to be fair, it's been going on since scientific management's time, and the change from the craftsmanship to the mass production. And not to go into that discussion, but the idea of the lights out factory has followed us since through history. I think it was Morris in England who wanted to do it in the 20s. And then obviously there's the famous story of GM. I can't remember the name of the CEO who did it who wanted to do a lights out factory in the 80s. It nearly broke their back. I think they lost something like $3 billion on the endeavor. And now, more recently, Elon Musk discovered that, people actually matter, and went on and did the same thing. That, but it's funny how this sort of idea is still, this idea that technology can just solve any problem. But when maybe we see that it doesn't. And I guess for Daryl, I just to follow up with you, it's like, so, but why is it that people are still so important? Why do we put so much emphasis on this?
Yeah, I think it's a fundamentally important question, Eivind, and people are going to be important. I mean, in Lean, we talk about respect for humans, respect for humanity, right? So, and I think it's part of that is being able to challenge your peers and to challenge your employees to help them develop this learning capability. But I think that learning capability comes from insight.
Yeah.
So when we look at the digitization, so we can look at Internet of Things, we can look at big data analytics. It's a lot of data there. Okay, artificial intelligence can do quite a lot with that. Machine learning can use data, and I think we don't have to have modern top of the range machinery either, David. I don't think. I mean, any machine after the 1980s has a number of sensors and a lot of data that we can harness from the machine. But that data is still pretty much useless without insight. And I think that's really where the difference makes, is who's going to use that insight to make decisions and to make improvement suggestions, and that's going to be the human, at least for a long time yet. So I think that's fundamental in the discussion.
The
question, of course, it goes back to the action learning that we discuss about as part of the lean transformation, is combining program knowledge, which otherwise is the stuff we read in books and the stuff that we learn about at universities, but it's also the data we're getting from machines.
From AIT,
right?
From AIs, from IoT, from big data lakes.
Yeah. And it's great for solving puzzles, simple problems. Puzzles can, it's one way to fix it. So machine learning can do that. But a complex organizational problem requires human insight. It needs questioning insight, and often not just intra-organizationally, but also from other organizations within the supplier network. So I think that's also an important avenue to consider here.
I guess it's it's the smart in smart manufacturing.
Yeah,
David.
No, I mean, it's like that. This is, everyone has his own initiative for the fourth industrial revolution, to tackle the fourth industrial revolution, right? I mean, there's one particular definition, based on what you were saying, right? What really makes manufacturing smart? And I really like the definition of the United States, because they define their Industry 4.0 national initiative, smart manufacturing. That's the term they use. They say smart manufacturing is the marriage between information technology and human ingenuity, right? Yeah. And I like a lot this aspect of the human ingenuity, because once again, I mean, technology is as good as the knowledge, right, that your employees have about that process and the technology that they're going to try to put together to work to create more value added for the customer. Yeah. So if I go back and so carrying on what Daryl was saying, right, trying to use a couple of terms, right? I mean, it's like incremental improvements, right? Kaizen. I mean, if you really reflect about incremental improvements, these are little optimizations, right? So you can apply a little bit of optimization techniques to the processes. Computers are good doing what they do, compute, right? And then humans can support and validate if this new optimization is a good way to go. But then, those breakthrough improvements, that Keikuku, right? This only can be driven by the human creativity, ingenuity, and innovation. Yeah. And moreover, right, I don't see any technology vendor when they sell, right, their technologies with their recipes. It's like, okay, use it in this way in your process, and then you will get all these productivity gains. Yeah, but they are selling the same recipe to everyone. So the true competitive advantage, right? The true source of competitive advantage, it goes back to people, right? To say how your smart people, which are very knowledgeable about the process, and you train them also to be knowledgeable about the technology, find this unique way of combining it to create, again, value for the customer, efficiency for the process in a way that others are not doing it, right? And that's your true source of competitive advantage. It radicates in this capability of the people. It doesn't radicate in the technology itself.
I guess it's like you're saying, is that if you think that you can buy operational efficiency, for example, it's like if you think that best practice is a commodity now, well, you know, good luck being average.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, you mentioned it perfectly, right? I mean, good luck being average, but of course, I guess any CEO doesn't want to be average. So
I think that's where lean has been misunderstood for so long. I mean, it comes down to one simple question, and I think that what we say is that Toyota asked a very different question to what everybody else is asking.
Yeah.
Where we typically look at lean as how can we optimize the way we develop, produce, and deliver products. That's completely wrong. So Toyota asked a very different question, and that was how do we continuously improve the way we develop, produce, and deliver better products time and time again. Yeah. And I think that's the important.
Trust in the process, right? Trust in your learning process. Trust in your improvement process. If you have a good one, the results will be these products, you know, with, you know, a lot of quality, with the controlled costs, with good delivery times.
Yeah, it's about developing people. It's about developing people.
It's about
we can put computers and digitalization to optimize processes, but that's not lean.
No, that's at least not how we define it.
It might be lean digital, but let's.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah, but I think we're, you know, we're sort of keep coming back to this. There's a duality here. You know, we keep coming back to this. It's all about the people, and I think actually, to building on that, I think there's a great example how Toyota think about this, and how afraid they are to lose touch with their process, and I guess it kind of goes back to where we started. You know, it's the craftsman. It's that how do we in a lean world, and a lean and digital world, how do we keep hold of the craftsman, the what they call the Takumi master? So. And I think there's a great example I'll share. It's from when they had a welding process, and they had it was all robotic, so 100% robotics, and they had issues with quality. So what they did was, instead of calling the robotics vendor, they found the best welding guys they could find in, I don't know if it was in the country or in the world, but they found sort of the 5 or 6 best guys they had, the master craftsman welders. They took away the robots from the line, and then they welded the actual cars going out to actual customers manually. And once the master welders had figured out what was wrong and how to do it better, how to improve the welding process, they were tasked with then programming the welding robots to the new process. And I think this is such a great example of this you know, duality of, yes, we use robots, we use digital tools to support and to enhance, but it's all about the people. So I guess that leads me on to a question for you, David, is how do we use digital to enhance lean thinking, to enhance the craftsman?
Well, you know, it's somehow we are becoming a little bit recursive, but, you know, we need to reinforce that message, right? Incorporate, I mean, this is also what it's Jidoka all about, right? Automation with a human touch. incorporating human learning gives automation its human touch, and it gives automation technology its competitive advantage, as I was, mentioning in my previous intervention. So I think, we need to build, right? And this is what was the strategy, right? I mean, they say how we can build these human machine mutual learning systems, and as they were doing, okay, we have these robots, they were not doing their job as they supposed to. So let's get all the data, right? As Daryl also was mentioning, let's get all the data that we are getting from them. Let's combine it with our own experience about the process. Let's reflect again, okay, did we digitalize the process in the correct way? Did we give the right task to the humans? Did we give the right tasks to the robots? Did we do this in the right way? Is there a better way of doing it? Should this be done by the robot? Should this be, done by the human? What capabilities we're really looking for by combining the human capabilities and the technology capabilities to create, added value and provide new capabilities to the process. I think these reflections, right, are missing. And, if we really want to continuously improve, right, all these new systems could be, fully automated, semi-automated, even manual. The key here, particularly for the semi-automated and the fully automated systems, is like you need to have good, let's say, human-machine interfaces that are engineered with the philosophy of Lean, which is build them to provide innovative feedback systems, right? So they're capable of facilitating mutual learning of humans and machines. The more knowledge, right, the machine can provide to your worker, the better your worker is going to be for problem solving and for innovation and for continuous improvement, right? And the more knowledge that the operator gains from the machine, the sensors of the machine, the data of the machine, but also from its own sensors, right? Gemba, your own eyes, your own ears, what you're seeing, right? What you're hearing from your workers, telling about the problem, what you're hearing from the machine, right? Old-fashioned time that you go and just hear the vibration and more or less, the better you're going to be to improve, to improve the process. So in this mutual learning process, everybody gains, right? The machine continues learning and self-optimize itself. Well, not self-optimize, but optimize itself with the input of the human, and you optimize yourself also with the input of the machine. So I think this is the future. We need to think human plus technology, and we need to build interfaces between humans and technologies that promote learning, right? Which is the true heart of Toyota production system, being a learning system that is enhanced with principles, methods, and tools.
Absolutely. And I guess this sort of, Daryl, I think you were touching upon it. You said enable, enhance, inhibit.
Yeah.
So I guess, it's what do we make digital? What do we digitize? Exactly.
I think that's a nice question, because I think another project which we're involved with now over here in SINTEF is it's a big European project focused on zero defect manufacturing. And of course, as we know, the lean story began with Deming's quality lessons in Japan in 1950. But zero defect manufacturing as a concept has also been around for many years, but it's become a hot topic recently given Industry 4.0 and digitalization. So in zero defect manufacturing, we are identifying 4 major strategies, and that's detect, correct or fix, predict, and prevent. But certainly through these 4 strategies, what the zero defect manufacturing have focused on before now is using digital solutions, sensors, cameras to either correct the process given an anomaly is detected, or compensate the product at a later stage. So correct or compensate. But something that's been missing from that, which we've just written a paper about this year, is the cultivation of people.
Yeah.
So the person is in the loop, the human is in the loop. It's zero defects. So it's not just the machine and the product that's important. Someone designed that product. Someone is in the production system helping to program the machines and set the machines. And so I think the cultivation of the people, using insight from the data provided from sensors and camera systems is also important. So I think that's what we're aiming for there is again, to use the word enhanced, it's a digitally enhanced quality management system.
So yeah, so we're still talking, and I think what you're saying is that it's the I didn't want to use the Japanese words, but that's the one that came to me. It's still monosecuri, hitosecuri. It's still it's still the people. It's still people who make the product with the help of machines or through the machines. It's not the machines that make the product, and the person is just sort of watching the machine.
Oh, that's a fantastic waste.
Yeah, that's a fantastic
I think
waste.
that's where the judoka came from, right? It was
exactly
one man, one machine, and that's I think just by putting these tension followers on the spinning looms, they went from one man, one machine to one man, 36 machines, and suddenly it's a much more testing job, of course, but it's engaging, and I think
it's much more
rather than sitting there and watching a machine run, it's like watching paint dry, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, we're talking a lot about manufacturing here. I guess we're all sort of manufacturing guys. Well, I'm a musician originally, so maybe I shouldn't say that I'm a manufacturing guy. But I've ended up on a shop floor for some reason. So if you think about this in a sort of in the more of a service industry, I guess it still applies, doesn't it? You know, we still need people in these sort of service industries. There's people writing the code. You know, there's people who are in and around all of this, and digital, you know, can help and it can support. But it, you know, where do we stand on that? You know, that's a bit of an open question.
You know, I think if we put it in a simple example, right, that everyone can get familiar, you know, which is your best restaurant, right? And your best restaurant has to do, you know, with the service that you know, yes, the food, right, but the service also from the waiter. And you normally feel more happy in those places where the waiter understands very well, you know, how you are, what you expect, what you want, right? So I think, you know, for me, it's, you know, whatever industry you go, the closer you are to your customer and the closer you are to your processes, the better chances you have to win, because you are going to be able to deliver a better product, a better service, you know, highly crafted, let's say, to create pure value added for your customer without any waste. Yeah. They know how you like your meat. They like you, you know, first time, second time, third time, right? That the food is coming in, your entrance, you know, how much time you need to wait from one meal to the other meal as you're enjoying your dinner. So I think this is something that everyone can get familiar with.
I think at the same time, staying with the restaurant example, I mean, given the coronavirus situation, I mean, digitalization suddenly accelerated into everywhere, and we noticed ourselves, Eivind, when we were in a restaurant some months ago, after a project meeting in Stavanger. I mean, suddenly you go in, you sit down, you scan a QR code, you get the menu up, you choose what you want. So connectivity actually has led in some respect to less connected people. You don't get the connection with the waiter until he brings your food out, checks it on the table. So it becomes a little less social, actually, in some instances. So, but it's.
But I guess you could argue that it frees up the service, the people. It frees up the people to provide a different type of service, different type of value than just taking the order and being polite. I think I love talking with you two guys about this. I think I want to invite some of the others who are listening in to ask questions. But before we do that, I think maybe to just sort of conclude with what we've been discussing so far. I think maybe we still need to create learning organization. We still need the lean mindset in the digital revolution. So in the end, it is all about the people.
Mm-hmm. That's a good summary, even I think, and whether it's lean digital or digital lean, I think it's safe to conclude that lean paves the way for a successful digital transformation, and digitalization is there to enhance lean practices and certainly learning, as long as we're addressing real problems, right?
In designing, delivering, and making the product. So we're not only talking, we're not only talking in the factory here, we're talking also in, and digital to enhance the design process, for example. But again, what is the problem we are trying to solve?
Yes. There's a lot of nice solutions out there on the market. Just have to find the problems.
So, we have one question from Nadja, and it's kind of back to where we started, I guess. But how can lean support digitalization, and how digitalization can support lean? And maybe we can take it down from the sort of abstract level and see, maybe we have some examples or some more sort of concrete steps or ways in other way. I don't know, which one do you want to? Who wants to do this?
I mean, I have my kind of own little recipe about this, and I kind of divide it in, let's say, five pillars that are, indispensable for me for what I could call digital lean transformation. And it's like, as we were saying, first you need to have a digital strategy. So what is a digital strategy at the end? It's like, what are relevant problems were to be solved, right? And how these problems are going to create an impact on, new efficiency gains or value for the customer. The second thing for me is that you need then to focus immediately. Once you know that there's something worth it to be solved, right? And this problem, it's caused by a process. You need to go and see your process, right? And it's how you can look into the process, look into the technology as you try to digitalize your process and try to re-engineer your process to take advantage of the new enablements that can provide the new technologies to your process. Then, of course, as we were saying, technology would not magically fix your bad business process. Now that you know that you have a good lean process, that you have re-engineer it to take advantage of the functionalities of the enablers of the new technologies, then you need to go out for shopping, as Daryl was saying. Right now, it's time to go on. Let's see what would be from the old technologies, from the old technology vendors, which could be the best solution for digitalizing my business process. And in parallel to this exercise, you need to be talking with people. You need to be empowering people and telling them, you are going to be trained in the use of this new technology that is going to improve your work, that is going to improve the business process. Can we do something else? As I was saying, can we differentiate the implementation of the technology from our competitors so we can have a better process and we can have a happier worker, because then your process is going to be better, your tasks are going to be better, right? So you're going to get better results, you're going to be happier, perhaps a bigger bonus, right? And the last thing is like, let's bring it, right? I mean, in all of these, there's risk. right? In any change you do, there's risk. But if you do it in a conscious way, right? Even as we were saying, it takes a little bit longer, but you really take the time to analyze your process, to train your people, then the result of your digitalization is going to be, the chances for succeeding in your digitalization initiative is going to be better, right? You are not digitalizing your process for the sake of digitalizing your process. You have a clear idea since the beginning how you're using that technology and your people to solve a relevant problem in your processes that reflects in a better product for your customer. And then there's your source of return of investment, right? Happier customer buying more, or a process which is more efficient, which is through the cost saving, it's paying your digitalization initiative.
Thank you, David. I think we're getting in quite a few questions, and I'd like to invite some of these to ask the question themselves. So maybe James, if you can unmute and you can ask the question to Daryl and David here if you want yourself. James Newman. No.
Maybe you can ask the question.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, hello, James.
All right, great, thank you. So my question was focused around, question observation. I've been attending a lot of webinars and seen a lot of discussion around this robotic process automation kind of concept, the idea of using automation to take unnecessary steps out of processes to streamline the way people work. I was thinking, and in a conversation I was in last week, this is an obvious alignment with lean principles and Lean Six Sigma principles, where you look for those things that are unnecessary waste in your process that can in fact be enhanced by robotic process automation. I'd like to have your opinion about that and whether you think that's an overreach or where you kind of see that particular space going.
Daryl, do you want to answer this one?
Yeah, sure. I can have a stab at it, and I think it's back to the digital waste again, right? So if you say we're using robotic process automation to automate unnecessary work, I mean, if it's unnecessary, why are we doing it in the first place? Would be my question. So I think it's a fundamental revisiting of the way we design the process, and of course how we design the product, which has caused that unnecessary work in the process. So it's I think what we say is when we go to Gemba, of course, you strike gold when you discover a real technical question, a real technical problem. And I think, again, going back to the problem as the foundation for any kind of digitalization or lean activities, I think that's something to consider here. Going back to the robotic process automation, I saw an interesting presentation at a conference late last year about collaborative robots, so cobots, and I think they were using these dynamic cobots to take and unload the operator, just as we would do with adjusting attack time given an increases or decrease in demand. But at certain points in the process, we saw that the operator was waiting for the robot to catch up. So I think again, it's a very touch and go as to whether this is actually enhancing the process or whether it's inhibiting growth. So of course, the goal, of course, is business growth. So solving more customer problems with the same or less resources.
And I guess in terms of robotic process automation, it's often sort of it's often done to a lot of sort of I guess bureaucratic work in many ways, or value adding work. But so it comes to mind a quote from our friend Robert Kusen. He had Glenn Umminger visiting him in Scania, and they had this big warehouse which they had fully automated. They had a robot that was picking and getting the right engine and all of that. And when Glenn saw it, they were showing it. It's like, look at our awesome fully automated warehouse. And then Glenn took one glance apparently and said, "Very impressive. We could almost believe it was value adding." So I think it's the flexibility. You have to bear in mind when you digitalize a process, make sure you keep it flexible so that you can change it, because it might be the best way to do it now, and but then later on maybe some clever guy thinks of something else, and it would be nice to be able to reprogram the robot, for example, to do it in a different way.
Actually, we had the same story there. You remember? I mean, in Curno, Italy, the digital factory manager of Brembo, and it's actually a PhD in robotics. And we asked him the question: would you like to fully automate, many of your processes in your factory? And he said, well, the problem with full automation is that I lose flexibility, I lose agility, I lose flexibility, I lose resiliency to disruption. And his answer was no. I will always be conscious about where, robotics, automation, artificial intelligence can truly add value to my processes, but the most value added capability that I have in my set of production resources is the flexibility of my people.
Yeah,
I think thank you, James, for a great question. There's some other ones as well coming in. Maybe Julian, Jesper, I'm going to wait a bit with yours because I think it's a nice question to round it all up with. But let me just hear from Julian Frey if you want to come on online and let's hear your question for the panel. Or maybe he's gone. Anyway, I can ask Julian's question, and unless he interrupts me, which I'm more than happy to allow you to do. So Julian is asking: a growing number of companies say they're getting better results or under a best of breed model than they could by applying either lean management or agile systems on their own. So what are your thoughts between the relationship between agile, lean, and design thinking? Oh, that's a big question from Julian there, I guess. Mm-hmm. Anyone wants to have a stab at that one? Daryl or David?
I mean, I don't know what the hell agile or design thinking is, but
well, design thinking for me is something that they steal from visual management from lean. So
maybe we're the wrong. Maybe that's a great. I mean, actually, this is a great question for a webinar. So Julian, actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this. I'm going to find a good agile and good design thinker, and we'll have a
put them in a cage.
Yeah, put them in a cage and lean, and we can have the discussion together, because I think there's a lot of shared fundamentally shared thinking that goes into all those three. And to be honest, it doesn't matter what you. Well, I guess it doesn't matter what you call it, but don't steal other people's stuff and call it your own. I think that's the academic side of this. So when we talk about lean, we're in a tradition that goes back to the study of Toyota through the International Motor Vehicle Program. Let me just move on and see here if we have any other questions. I think we have a few comments. I can just read them out. We have Nadia Arab, you've commented 2 times maybe. Do you want to maybe share your reflection with us, and maybe we can sort of ask a question? Nadia?
I would love to hear about reflections, right? Your takeaways, not only questions. So.
It's not only question. Yeah, absolutely. Let's hear from Nadia.
Share your problems. What problems do you have right now?
What problems do you have? Yeah.
No problems.
Actually, I remember a couple of years, Daryl, you were also with me in Canada, and actually was a CTO from ABB Canada, that he came out in his keynote presentation in an academic conference and say, gentlemen and ladies, if you think I'm coming here, to tell you how great we are, you're wrong. I'm just going to go through my whole presentation, tell you about problems that we haven't yet able to solve. So you can come as a scientist with a bunch of brilliant ideas on how to solve that problem. So let's start,
brilliant.
right? That was hilarious. Everyone was really shocked, but as Daryl, you were saying, what are those problems where to be solved? This is what we are always looking in the Gambas, right? Where are those relevant problems that we need to quickly fix because they have a huge impact in our capabilities to create value for the customer and being efficient.
I think maybe that's a nice thing to discuss here if we have the time, is the whole Gamba walk thing. I mean, it's before coronavirus and all the lockdowns, it was quite simple to go out on the Gamba and meet up with other people and look around and go discover real problems and find some challenges to solve through lean thinking and practice. But of course, nowadays it's much more difficult. So there are some ways in which we can use digital to visit the Gamba, but of course it's often not the same. But David, what are your views for digital Gamba walks? What would you recommend to these people that are stuck in their home office and need to go visit the Gamba?
Well, I mean, we were writing about this together, right, Daryl? And actually, we were really shocked when at the same time Toyota came out and say, hey, we need to rethink the Genji Genbutsu in this new era. So the first thing, I would say is like, there's no such thing, right? I mean, it's like the Margaret's pipe, right? That the famous painting, and it has right it on, is like, this is not a pipe, right? I mean, it's like, yes, we can use like crazy ideas, very simple ones. It's like how you can digitalize your Gamba, like just basically put your GoPro camera in your helmet. And if you cannot bring that many employees now to go to Gamba, just have at least one with the Gamba doing the Gamba with his GoPro in his helmet, right? Showing your walk through the shop floor. But I think the future of Gamba is going to be cyber physical, right? And it's also, once again, teaming up with technology, not trying to, digital twin will never replace your Gamba. But I think these new possibilities of, having, for example, an artificial intelligence being a new partner in the Gamba walk team, providing additional information, additional insights for collaborative problem solving, right? That now it's collaboration not just between humans, but also between machines with their add-ons and artificial intelligence with their reports. I think that's the future. And I would say that the future of Gamba, it's cyber physical, and it's with an extended team that will include your little intelligent personal assistants, right? We'll see more and more Alexas and Theories in the world of manufacturing gambling with us.
Yeah,
I think I think also, you're talking about digital twins. It gives a great opportunity to do scenarios, right? For example,
we have a good question here.
Yeah.
From
so we have two questions. We can round up with those two because we're running out of time a bit here. But let's take for Janne's question first. How do you go Gamba in an engineering company?
That's interesting, and that's something.
So I guess
the
the assumption here being that it's a only engineering company. So it means you can't go and see the physical project you are engineering or the building you are engineering, right? I would assume that.
For me, it's simple. The Gamba you're concerned with is the customer Gamba. Where is the product or service going to be used that you're engineering? I think that's often a very complex task to go from sitting behind a computer screen with AutoCAD. You need to go to the customer Gamba and live the problem.
And I think it's also, you can without going to the Gamba, a nice way to get an idea of front load issues, if you wish, is the Obeya. You know, it's a great tool for visualizing engineering work. You know, to tell early if things are okay or not okay. But I think, like Daryl is saying, the real learning, the real deep learning discovery process, it has to happen in some way by actually looking. But I think you can.
But
yeah, sorry. So who's the?
But we can also have what we call short interval control. So every 3 weeks, for example, we can check the product. So we can't wait like 6 months until then and say, oh, yeah, we should do it like this. Not so. Actually, if we have a short interval control, it's like a plan, do, check, act.
Yeah.
We can act on the early phase.
Yeah, that was Nadia talking, by the way. Thank you. That's a very good point. Yeah, absolutely. And doing that, for example, with an Obeya, where you can actually see where you can have a visual representation, maybe through a digital, like a 3D model or a CAD system, that you can actually go together and see, and you can test your assumptions, etc. I think that's a great, absolutely. If it's the Gemba, I'm not sure if it is the actual Gemba. That's a different question, I guess.
But at the end, you know, what is the Gemba? Is to get as close as possible to the process, right? And observe the process, observe what is happening, try to remove the waste, and try to see how you can improve it. Yeah. Right. So
Gemba,
if you cannot have the physical process represented by the manufacturing system, you can always have something, you know, as was mentioned, right, by Eivind, right? I mean, it's like you can have even something as simple of us as a workflow and just reflect about that workflow. The important thing is to reflect, right? The idea of going to Gemba and seeing with your own eyes is to encourage reflection of what you're seeing.
Well, Gemba, just to summarize, Eivind, Gemba is the actual place. So actually, Gemba in Japanese, it also means the crime scene. So where is the crime being committed? You can't solve a crime without going to the crime scene, right?
So that might actually mean that the Gemba can be the CAD program.
Yeah.
Actually, you know, can we go and see look at your drawing? And I guess just there's below there's another one, and it kind of ties in with the next question from Reke, which has to do with these digital workflows, which is, you know, it can be engineering, it can be sales, it can be you know, finance or whatever. There's loads of these type of, you know, it's happening, the process is happening between the head and the computer, so to speak. In the old days, it was the drawing board or the book, but now it's the computer. So how can we, how do we find waste in these type of flows compared to physical flows?
So I mean, actually, there was, I think the simplest example that we have for that one was, for example, and also was part of the inspiration of the different types of digital waste, right? When it comes to information flows. And what most of the time, what you're going to see here, it's, you know, now it's so easy to digitalize information flows and to send just in time, you know, with the text message, right? In your WhatsApp information to people, right? Just to put it in simple words. But sometimes we ended up actively creating digital waste, because what we need to reflect, you know, once again, just in time principle, what information is needed, when it's needed, in what amount is needed, in which representation that information is needed. And what we're seeing now with how easy it's to digitalize information flows is that we're creating information overload of people. So rather than providing information to make their decision making, we're providing information to add complexity, to confuse them, to create information overload. So you really need to reflect in not only the information flow, but the process, right? That information flow is supporting. So if the decision you need to make is weekly, don't send me a daily report, right? I need a weekly report to support my decision. Otherwise, I will be reading every day a report for a decision that I don't need to make immediately, and I will be creating actively creating waste of time for people, right? I mean, they were just going to read the report. Okay, so I have all this information now. What I should do? No, you don't need to do nothing right now. You need to wait till Friday. But yeah, till Friday things may change. So what was the value of spending time reading in this report? And this is sometimes how we're seeing that we are creating actively digital ways because we don't understand, Kanban, once again, just in time, all these principles. Just send the right information to the right guy, right, at the right moment, in the right amount. Otherwise, you're going to confuse the guy or the lady rather than help him or her.
I think on that note, David, we can round off here a bit. We're 5 minutes past time. I think it's been absolutely. I'm thrilled to have had you both on the show. Daryl, I know I'm obliged to tell you this anyway, but David, thank you very much for joining us all the way from Mexico. I hope in the future, hopefully, in the future we can meet up, have a beer, have a glass of wine, a shot of tequila, and some good Mexican steak.
I promise I will bring the tequila.
Absolutely, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. And thank you to all of you guys listening in, asking questions. Really good questions. I really enjoyed this, and I guess for all the Norwegian listeners, we have the next webinar is the first Friday after Easter, and the theme will be leadership. And we have two great Norwegian and ex-CEO of FIBO, one of the best lean transformation stories in Norway I know of, which you can read about on Planet Lean, actually.
Fairy tale. It's a Norwegian
fairy tale. Yeah, it's a fairy tale. It will be in Norwegian, unfortunately, for those of you who don't speak Norwegian. It will be with Torfinn Knudsen and Daryl's colleague on from NTNU, Marte Holmem, who will also join me for that discussion. So with that, having said that, thank you very much. Thank you guys for joining me once again, and all the best.
Pleasure.
All the best to all of you guys listening in. Thank you.
Take
care, guys.
Flight back to Mexico, David.
Go to Gamba.
Go to Gamba. Yeah. No, Daryl left.
So now I guess we can stop the recording.
Yeah, we'll do.